Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why she never texts first, yet somehow she never fully leaves either? She answers when you reach out, she keeps the line open, but she never starts the conversation on her own. For a lot of men, that pattern feels confusing. It feels frustrating. It feels like trying to solve something that never gives a straight answer. But her silence is not random. It says more than most men realize. And if you keep answering it the wrong way, you will stay stuck in the same cycle. You will keep chasing, and she will keep staying just far enough away to make you wonder. Today, we are breaking that pattern down. We are going to look at the 6 things you need to do when she never takes the first step and why each one changes the power in ways most men never notice. Before anything else, be honest with yourself for 1 second. How many times have you ignored what you needed just to keep a connection going? How many times have you carried the whole weight of the effort because doing that felt easier than facing the truth? Because the truth might be simple. She may not be as invested as you are. And deep down, most men already know it. They just do not want to admit it. This is where the shift begins. Not with her, with you. This is the point where you stop avoiding what is obvious and start taking real responsibility for how you show up, what you allow, and what you keep calling connection. The first thing you need to do is stop rewarding her silence. Most men make the same mistake here. She goes quiet, so they try harder. She does not reach out, so they send another message. They think if they stay steady, if they stay kind, if they just keep showing up, eventually she will start meeting them halfway. But that is not what happens. What actually happens is much worse. The more you fill the silence for her, the more you teach her that she never has to do anything. She learns that your attention comes easy. She learns she can stay passive and still get everything. No effort, no risk, no intention, just your steady attention on demand. Think about the man who wakes up and checks his phone first thing in the morning. Nothing from her, no message, no check-in, no sign that she even thought about him. He feels that small drop in his chest, so he sends the first text again. Good morning. Hours later, she answers with something dry, short, predictable. The next day, he does it again, then again, then again. Before long, he has built a routine where she gives almost nothing, but still gets the comfort of knowing he will always appear, every day, right on time. She never has to wonder. She never has to move first. She already knows he will do it for her. That is not connection. That is conditioning. Every time you answer silence with more effort, your attention loses value. It becomes common. It becomes expected. It becomes cheap. People do not value what costs them nothing. That is not bitterness. That is human nature. When something is always there, always available, always easy to get, it stops feeling special. It stops feeling meaningful. And when your presence asks nothing from her, it teaches her to give nothing back. This is why your first move is not more effort. It is restraint, real restraint. You stop reacting just because the silence makes you uncomfortable. You stop reaching just because the quiet makes you nervous. You let the silence sit there long enough to reveal what it really means. That silence is not something you need to fix. It is something you need to observe. Let it breathe. Let it stretch. Let her feel the gap where your effort used to be. This is not punishment. It is not manipulation. It is self-respect. You are not trying to hurt her. You are simply refusing to keep giving your energy to someone who has not earned the same access they have been getting for free. Your attention has value. Your time has value. And if you keep spending both on someone who contributes almost nothing, then the first thing that loses worth is you. Silence only becomes meaningful when you stop covering it with your effort. The second shift is simple. Match her energy. Most men do not lose women because they are too sincere. They lose them because they keep overgiving after the balance is already gone. One person pushes, one person coasts, one person tries, one person receives, and somehow the man keeps calling that effort love. But attraction cannot breathe in imbalance. Connection needs rhythm. It needs movement from both sides. If one person is doing all the work, what you have is not momentum. It is one-sided labor wearing the mask of romance. And that kind of energy always becomes visible, even when you try to hide it. Picture a man sending message after message through the day. A joke, a check-in, a small update, something to keep the conversation moving. Hours pass. She answers once, maybe twice. Short replies, no curiosity, no questions, no real effort. But instead of reading what is clearly in front of him, he tells himself he just needs to stay consistent. He tells himself more effort will create more interest, so he leans in harder. But she does not feel inspired by that. She feels crowded, she feels pressure, and what he thinks is persistence starts to feel like neediness. That is when attraction begins to fade, quietly, then fast. Overgiving rarely comes from strength. Most of the time, it comes from fear, fear of losing her, fear of being forgotten, fear that if he stops trying, she will disappear, and that fear changes everything. Women can feel the difference between a man moving with calm confidence and a man reaching from quiet insecurity. One feels grounded, the other feels desperate. And the second a woman senses that your energy is being driven by fear, something changes in the way she sees you. The dynamic shifts. The attraction weakens. Not because she is cruel, because insecurity always changes the shape of desire. Connection is supposed to feel like two people moving toward each other, not one person dragging the whole thing forward. So mirror what she gives. If she is warm, be warm. If she is intentional, meet that. If she reaches, respond. But if she pulls back, do not sprint after her just to keep the illusion alive. Let her effort reveal her interest. That is not playing games. That is protecting your dignity. Matching energy is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming clear. And when you stop overcompensating, her true level of interest becomes much harder to hide. That clarity is not painful, it is useful. The third shift is taking back emotional control. Most men know this feeling too well. You send the text, then you wait. And suddenly your whole mood is tied to whether she answers. You check your phone too often. You pretend you are not thinking about it, but you are. If she replies fast, you feel lighter. If she takes hours, your mood drops. If she says nothing, the tension grows. And without noticing it, you have handed someone else control over your emotional state. That is the trap, not her silence. Your dependence on what her silence means to you. The problem is not that she has power. The problem is that you gave it away. The second your peace depends on her reply, your center is no longer yours. Your confidence starts leaning on her attention. Your mood starts bending around her timing. Your sense of value begins waiting for her response. And women feel that. They notice the slight urgency in your tone. They notice the weight behind your messages. They notice the silent hope that every reply from her will make you feel okay again. And once a woman feels that your emotional balance depends on her, attraction begins to slip. Dependence never looks like strength, so take it back. Her reply is not validation, it is information. That is all. It tells you how engaged she is. It does not tell you what you are worth. That is the frame you need to hold. Stop letting a notification control your mood. Put your focus back where it belongs, on your work, on your body, on your goals, on your habits, on the parts of your life that should never become secondary to one woman's delayed reply. When you stop orbiting her attention, you become steadier, calmer, harder to shake. And that grounded energy changes how she sees you, but more importantly, how you see yourself. The fourth shift is letting absence do its job. Most men think they lose women by pulling back. In reality, they usually lose them because they never do. They stay too available, too constant, too easy to access. Always texting, always checking in, always there. And because they never create space, she never gets the chance to feel the difference between having them and missing them. Without absence, there is no contrast. Without contrast, there is no weight. If she never has room to notice your absence, then your presence becomes something she stops noticing too. Too much availability kills appreciation. That is true in every part of life. Even something good loses impact when it is constant. The same thing happens with attention. When you flood someone with endless availability, they stop feeling the value of it. They stop noticing it. They stop respecting it. Not because they are bad, because familiarity without pause dulls impact. If you are always there before she can even wonder where you are, then she never gets the chance to miss you. And if she never misses you, she never has to confront what your absence actually means to her. This is why space matters, not as a tactic, as truth. When you stop over-delivering, you create room for reality to show itself. If she values you, she will step in, she will notice, she will reach, she will close the distance. If she does not, then her silence tells the truth your effort kept hiding. Either way, you win clarity. Absence is not about punishing her. It is about stopping the endless supply of energy that kept protecting you from seeing what was already there. The right woman does not disappear because you stop overgiving. She reveals herself. The fifth shift is testing her interest. This is where many men stay trapped the longest. She never initiates, but she still responds just enough to keep hope alive. Not enough to feel secure, not enough to feel chosen, just enough to keep you wondering. And that uncertainty keeps men hooked. They keep reaching, keep leading, keep filling the silence because she has not fully disappeared. But partial attention is not the same as genuine interest. Sometimes she is not invested. She is simply available enough to keep the door cracked while you do all the work. So stop guessing, step back, and let her actions answer the question. Do not announce it. Do not perform it. Just stop carrying the whole connection by yourself. Stop always being first. Stop always being the one who follows up. Stop always being the one who keeps it alive. Then watch. Does she notice? Does she reach? Does she create effort when yours is no longer doing all the lifting? Or does the silence settle in without resistance? That answer matters. Because if it dies the moment you stop carrying it, then it was never mutual. It was only maintained. The sixth shift is raising your standards. At some point, the issue is no longer her silence. It is what you keep tolerating. It is the low effort you keep excusing. It is the bare minimum you keep dressing up as potential. When you accept crumbs long enough, you start calling them enough. That is where men lose themselves. Not in heartbreak, intolerance. They keep explaining her behavior, keep protecting the fantasy, keep shrinking their standards just to keep the connection alive. But self-respect always gets smaller in that kind of arrangement. And eventually, so does your sense of worth. Raise the standard, not with anger, not with ego, with honesty. Stop calling one-sided effort connection. Stop calling inconsistency interest. Stop calling access intimacy. A woman who values you does not force you to guess where you stand. She does not make you prove your worth through endless effort. She meets you with energy, with consistency, with intent. And if she does not, then the answer is already there. Your worth is not measured by how long you can hold on to someone who barely shows up. It is measured by how quickly you stop settling for less than what real interest looks like. This was never about getting her to text first. It was never about winning her back. It was about seeing clearly. It was about getting yourself back. The moment her silence stops feeling like rejection and starts feeling like information, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop guessing. You stop forcing what never had balance to begin with. And in that shift, you become harder to manipulate, harder to confuse, and much harder to pull into one-sided dynamics. That is the real change. Not getting her attention, reclaiming your standards, your peace, and your self-respect.